My name's Josh Brandon. I'm a voice actor, performer for stage, screen, film. I'm also a comedian, and I'm also a social media activist. This is a topic that is very near and dear to me. As I grew up around guns, I've sort of come out of the gun cultism. My father was an avid gun nut. He was the quote unquote responsible gun owner that you hear about. However, I never knew my father to own a gun safe. In fact, months before his home exploded in an incendiary device, that's another story, all of his guns were stolen during the break in, stolen out of the corner of his closet, my father's arsenal. My father warned me of a revolution in my timeline. He always told me that a revolution was coming. It's an odd mark since my father wasn't really a fan of the Confederates. So I'm not really sure what he talked about, but my father was a radicalized extremist. I realize that now. He was a bigot and a dangerous man. He worked hard to put food on the table and provide opportunity for me, but he probably should not have been allowed to raise me. My father's loosey goosey opinion of guns was in sharp contrast to his teachings on guns. Don't ever pull one unless you're ready to take someone's life, he would tell me. And so I became ready to take someone's life because I wanted to carry a gun. I always appreciated the power of shooting, firing ranges, and whatnot. My father, again, didn't lock up his guns. On the bookshelf, right by the front door, Daddy almost always had a pistol. This culture was so normalized for me that one morning after my father had gone to work, I had a sleepover with a friend of mine. He was sleeping in, and somebody came knocking on the door about 9 a.m., which at that age for me was unholy. I looked out the door, saw a crappy old car in the driveway, looked at the window at the door, and saw this really sleazy looking guy in a pastel suit and didn't know what he was there for and didn't care. But when I pulled the gun off the shelf and he saw it in my hand, he left. It didn't matter to me what he thought. Get off of my property, as I was always told. The police came to the house. Clearly, he went and told. They did nothing to me because I was clearly White and Eddie's son in a small town. Think about what that was. I could have very well hurt him, just intimidating, just get off my property. Why'd you wake me up? He was a religious nut coming door to door. In 1999, my brother fell into a deeply depressive episode. Circumstance had hit my brother hard, life. And he showed up at my father's doorstep with seemingly no other place to go. My father saw how sad my brother was and took him up on the mountain to go shooting, as we did when we were kids. Shooting trees, shooting cans. My dad came home, put the 357 Magnum on top of the bookshelf, left my brother alone to talk to my mother and talk to his sister. People who knew things that were going on in his personal life. Conversations he probably shouldn't have had. It's not their fault. They're trying to pull him out of it. He was just too far gone. In the middle of a conversation with my sister, he puts the phone down on the couch, walks over to the bookshelf, and picks up the 357 Magnum. He walks outside the house, in what I can only imagine is the longest walk he's ever made. When he got to the side of the house, he put the barrel to his temple and made the final decision of his life. Even if they leave a note, you still never know why they did it, and you never get the answers. But I know how he did it. And he did it with a .357 Magnum that was left on a bookshelf by a man who called himself a responsible gun owner, but didn't have the common sense to put his guns away when he's in the presence of someone who's clearly mentally ill. Why? Because my father was clearly mentally ill. My father lived in a neighborhood subdivision. The other side of a hill was the elementary school, and my father would pick off squirrels from the power lines off the front porch. Houses were in both sides of the street. This is a subdivision. My father set up a hunting blind out of his bedroom window so he could shoot deer in the woods. Again, the elementary school right over the corner. My father was a quote unquote responsible gun owner, registered gun owner. I watched my father shoot a dog right in front of me because the dog was pooping in our basement. Responsible gun owner. The longer I've gone in my life and studied psychology, sociology, anthropology, history, etc., the longer I have realized that James Madison did not intend what we have today for the Second Amendment. James Madison, none of the founding fathers would have believed a man like Eddie Brandon, my father, should have ever owned a gun. My academic understanding, as rudimentary as it may be, of the Second Amendment leads me to understand that America has been victim to cultism with regard to guns. And as we do that, we surrender our morality. The decision on gun legislation is an indictment on our souls. I know that sounds heavy, but when we debate on school shootings or mass shootings and people are out here defending anything other than the idea of saving a life, you are making a moral compromise. When I was working in radio, when I was working in automotive sales, I saw countless gun deals go down. Just somebody coming up, you ought to see what I picked up. And then they come over and they pop their trunk and everybody gathers. Ooh. Yeah, I saw a few pieces of paperwork filled out, but mostly none. Mostly just exchanges. Oh, you got this? I'll give you this for it. We believe we don't have a problem in America. I watched illegal gun deals go down in the parking lot of every car dealership I ever worked at. Maybe that's cultural. Maybe the issue is so widespread, it happens in every parking lot, every business. Statistically, from my experience, that's significant. I've known so many people that have taken their own lives, most of them by gunshot. Would they have found another way? Would my brother have? Maybe. But we'll never know because the device was sitting on the bookshelf. The device is not the problem. The device just sits there inanimately. But if we're not willing to regulate people, then we have to regulate the device. I propose we do both. I'm Josh Brandon. I thank you for the opportunity to share my story. And it would be my honor to speak on this subject in Washington.